Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's great to have you here with us this morning as we celebrate what God's doing in our lives and world around us. Just wanted to take a moment and welcome you. If you have not done the white booklets, we invite you to take those, pass those out to the side, return those to the middle. If you are a first-time visitor with us, we'd welcome you and invite you to share your information. We'd love to be back in touch with you as we share with our ministry. So fill it out as complete as possible and seek one another out during our passing of the peace. We do have a couple of announcements we'd like to share with you. See if you put that one up for you. First of all, is our Super Bowl subs. And so we have more than a couple of helpers. We have a lot of helpers up here talking about that.
Yeah, so just come get our subs. We're right out there. And
There you go.
yeah, like right out there by the fellowship hall.
All right, nobody panic, but we're missing someone.
Oh, Ian, okay. For just $5, you can help this poor, innocent middle schooler pay for his mission trip. Thank you.
So if you have already purchased your sub, they will be ready for you after worship. If you have not purchased a sub and you want to buy 5 or 10, please do, because I said we were going to make 100, and then one of the youth asked me, we use these buttons over here, and I said, yeah. And so now we have 144 to sell by the end of today, because they're not going to keep. So you want to spread this message wide that it is time for Super Bowl subs, so eat, eat, eat.
And they're $5 a piece or 3 for $15, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
or you know what? I'll make you a deal. You can have 4 for $20.
All right, that's better yet. So let's help them on their mission trip and grab some of those. Take them to a neighbor or whatever you need to do as well. We also have a romantic time out for Valentine's outing, candlelight ski, and snowshoeing. Adele is making me go because I'm that romantic guy, you know. Well, or not. But anyhow, we are going to be going to that, but we cannot coordinate it here. You have to call Quarry Hill. They don't do an online registration, so you actually make the phone call out there to that number, but get your reservation in soon. I know they're filling up quickly. Just a fun night to snowshoe or ski, and then they have a bonfire going on as well. It's just a great evening out there, so please join us for that outing. We also have another great event coming up for the Social Ice. It's you again. We're the subs.
So the youth is doing a babysitting, and this is during the Social Ice, and just anytime you guys can like go out and everything. It's 6 to 9 p.m. on February 17th, and yeah, so bring your kids, and there's a $20 donation that you can do. You don't have to, but yeah. Thank you.
Sign up.
Sign up at the table outside where you're going to buy those extra subs that I had them make. There also will be the opportunity to take the shuttle bus, our bus, down as a shuttle down to Social Ice, so you don't even have to drive or park down there. You can just stop here and hop on the bus. You don't have to have kids to do that. You can just ride the bus. Dean is going to be our driver for the evening. He's volunteered his time generously. So it's $20, but for all of you with kids, think about how much you'd pay for an evening out. How much are you really going to pay your babysitter? If you're going to pay them $20, great. If you're going to pay them more, pay us more, because these guys need some money to get to Pilgrim Point this summer.
Good. Thank you for that. And thanks to our youth. Let's just give it up for our youth for all their work in putting that together. So thank you. We do want to just call your attention. We have a couple of book studies coming up. We have Ben Sullivan and Tom Nair who are going to be leading these book studies respectively. These are both fantastic books. Rob Bell is one of my favorite authors, and Kathleen Norris has written this great book a few years ago called Dakota. So please sign up. The sign-up board is down by the office if you'd like to do that. That's held between worship services beginning February 19. And we need to know if you're going to be doing that so we get those books ordered. So please make note of that as well. We do want to share with you a very special day coming up on February 19 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The way that our process works, we have called Beth to be our pastor. She's been here what seems forever, but actually it's since October. And we need to officially install her as a congregation. That will happen on the afternoon of February 19 at 4 o'clock. And Super Bowl's over. There's nothing happening on Sunday afternoons anymore. So come here and join us as we celebrate and officially bring Beth in as our associate pastor. Also, we have a lot going on out in the narthex. You saw we are about 3/4 of the way to getting the carpet tiles done. We're excited about that. So if you like to buy a tile, they're $10 a piece, or you can buy $10 for 100. Did I do that right? 10 tiles for? Did I do that right? They're $10 a piece, or you can buy 10 tiles for $100, right? I'll make you a deal. Okay, anyhow. You guys you're good at math as I am. So anyhow, we're going to finish that off. We would like to get that done so we get those carpet tiles here. We are going to be installing those under the direction of Mr. Greg Strauss. He does. You do know that, right? So we are going to need your help. It is a party to put that tile down. Your body it feels no pain, right, Steve? No pain. So when we get to that point, we're going to invite you to come and join us as well. We do want to celebrate some other items. First of all, we're going to lift up the Hawkins family. Dick passed away. We had a great celebration service for Mike and your family. Very special blessings upon you, not only today, but in the weeks ahead. So God bless you. The flowers on the altar are in Dick's honor as well. Also, I'm looking for some good men. I was told that we didn't have many good men, but I know we have a dozen good men. Easy. So we're going to be doing the Maundy Thursday drama, and it's a very powerful drama where each individual will depict one of the disciples. We need 12 men, and we need 3 women, actually, for this. So if you're at all interested, please see me. It's a very powerful thing. It's about 2 months away, so you have plenty of time to rehearse and get this down. So if you're at all interested, please let me know. Also, we're looking for somebody to help coordinate some arts events, not physical art, but musical arts. If you're at all interested in helping put on some coffee house and concerts, please let me know about that as well. I have several things. A big shout out today to our painting crew. If you go in the fellowship hall, you notice that is done. We had a number of people helping to participate, putting it all back together for this morning. But I want to give, so thank you everybody who did that. Big shout out to Rob Stevens, though, because he's the man when it comes to painting. So thank you, Rob, for that. We do want to also share with you, Betty Meyer was in the hospital, and so prayers for Betty. It is a communion Sunday here at Peace. We welcome everybody to come to the table. It is God's table, not ours. The God that we know and love welcomes everybody, so please come and join us. The other shout out I want to give back, Sarah is back on the keyboard. She's been gone for over a month. Now, don't feel so sorry about her that she's gone because she's in Florida. But she's happy to be back, right? So we're so thankful for that. So Sarah, welcome back. Anything else that we missed this morning? I know that was a lot I threw at you, but I want to just make sure that we get it all covered.
I've got a couple more.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. Like, where'd you go?
I went to go sit down and realized that I didn't need to. I got 3 things coming up for you. On this coming Saturday, we have 2 events. One for young families, so 0 to 3, and their parents, caregivers, grandparents. We're going to make sensory bottles and shakers. So we have those materials, but you bring your lunch, we'll bring those things, and we're going to play and have some fun, get to know each other. And then at 4 that day, middle school and high school youth are invited to get here to church. 3:45, we're going to go to Bounce World and go have some fun. So straight up fellowship, let's go do this. And then next Saturday, we're going to do a young adults game lunch. So we have the lunch, you bring the games, and we're going to have a great time.
Perfect. I do want to mention Beth is preaching today as well, so we give thanks for her incredible gifts. Let's just pray for a moment and ask God to be with us as we celebrate God's presence. I'd like to invite our children forward. The rest are welcome to be seated. Thank you.
Come on up, guys. And for you adults back there, if you'd like to be a kid, you're welcome to come join us this morning. You get a sneak peek at the sermon if you do. No? All right. So this morning, we are hearing about salt and light. So I have a little present for everybody. You guys get some dough. So I'm going to try and hand. You can touch it. You can taste it. You can roll it in your fingers. You can make snakes out of it. I'm totally being serious. It is completely edible. Hold on. There's a lot of us this morning. We're getting there. Yeah, it's probably not quite a gum chewing and salt dough eating experience. How many more do we have back here? Who needs dough? Dough.
It's so inside.
Does it feel soft or does it feel hard?
It feels salty.
It feels salty? What does salty feel like?
Wait, it's not going to be yucky, but without salt, then it's going to be so icky.
So with salt, it's going to be one thing, and without salt, it's going to taste different? That's
So
what we think?
Icky. So icky.
So how many of you have tasted it yet? How's it taste?
Good.
Who likes salt on their french fries? Yeah? Who likes really heavy salt on their french fries? Nobody?
No way.
So, yes, it is edible. It's salt and water and flour. That's all that's in it. So, yes, we can eat it. Sometimes we want to eat it, sometimes we don't. Depends upon how much you like salt. It's a lot of salt.
I like only 50-40 salt.
50-40 salt. So with the dough, you're going to notice after you play with it for a little while that it starts to look a little bit less floury, but your hands start to look like something else. What do your hands start to look like?
Oh, they're like floury.
They look floury now? So the salt kind of ends up sticking on you, and the dough starts to feel a little bit sticky. And so when you're going to take these back to your pews so that you can squish them all you want during service, as best as you can, don't just, throw them on the ground. But you can make snakes with them during the service today because we're interacting with the salt in our lives. You can keep it. In fact, after service, I might even have more that you could take home with you. So we're going to remember all the ways that we're salt this morning, the ways that make us pungent. Woo-hoo, that was just too much salt. And the ways that it sticks to our hands. And it feels it tastes really salty, right? I also have up here, and we're going to go into this in the sermon in just a little bit, but I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek. You're going to get to look in this dish right here, and none of the adults can actually see what's in it right now. And so you're going to get a sneak peek at what my sermon's about. And if you want to look in there, you can see that. But don't tell them what's in it, because they didn't come up here, so too bad. You can feel it, but be careful. Okay, and as we're up here, I'm going to have everybody grab a hand with somebody else, and we're going to say a prayer all around all of the different ways that we have our salt up here. Can we grab hands? Grab hands. Okay, and we're going to pray together. Dear God, thank you for helping me be salt in all of the ways of my life. Amen. All right, head on back to your seats.
Are shared so abundantly. For all this we give thanks. In Jesus' name, amen. I want to share with you the other scripture for today. It comes to us from the prophet Isaiah. We've really dug into the prophets over the last few weeks, and this one speaks truth to us. So hear these words today from Isaiah 58. Is not this the fast that I choose, to loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see them naked, to cover them, and not to hide yourself from your own kin. Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up quickly. Your vindicator shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and God will say, here I am. if you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness, and your gloom be light at noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water, whose water never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt, and you shall rise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of the streets to live in. We give thanks this day for God's word that is before us and celebrate the ways that God speaks to us.
Thank you, Paul. This morning, we are delving deeply into this light and this salt bit. And as you can see, I've got all of this salt stuff up here, and we'll get to those in just a minute. The light we have all around us, of course. This morning's readings put out a call to the people of faith who hear these words to be salt for the world and light in the darkness. In each of these images today, there's a vision of faith overcoming fear. Fear of being known, fear of not being known, fear of not sharing the right message. Within both of this morning's readings, we hear the highlight of right action, but also the vision of more, of another path. In Isaiah, the question is over what the right kind of fast, or for more modern times, what the right kind of worship is. The giving of sacrifices on an altar is not what Isaiah says is real worship. Real worship, he says, is the actions of doing justice, of serving the world. This is what God desires of us. In the text from Micah last week, we heard Paul talk about, and here's a pop quiz for you, what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with God? This week we hear what it means specifically to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly. It means to serve the widows, the poor, the enslaved, the homeless, the hungry. This is the doing of justice. The loving of kindness is made clear in that second half of the reading from Isaiah, where he speaks to removing the pointing of the finger and the speaking of evil. Loving kindness means seeking the good in others, and thus removing the chains that hold us away from the divine. Seeking the good in the world and doing good works creates more good in the world. And it's what God calls us to do through these words from Isaiah. And in connection with that image of salt and light found in Matthew, we find a word of good news that is as true today as it was long ago. While they may be centuries old, these words of Scripture speak a clear and true statement into our current place in this world. So how do we go about being people of salt and light? Of fulfilling the right kind of worship? When I think about this morning's text, I know there are so many ways that we can go with salt, we can interpret, and we can relate it to our present lives. But my first thought is of a community back in Portland, Oregon, which began as Salt and Light Lutheran Church, and then developed a new way of being community to include a Buddhist meditation group, a group of community organizers and activists, a garden, a soap cooperative, and several other initiatives, and became the Leaven community. Focused not on being Lutheran, but on being people in the world, connecting with other people in the world, people of faith and people without a specific faith. They are a community that took the catastrophic decline in membership that typically ends congregations as a call to change and be changed. Rather than continuing to be set apart, a small Lutheran church, they opened their doors to other traditions and new ideas about being community, to become leaven. And they seek to do and be in the world what we hear in this text, to be salt and light. And they've heard the call to be change agents and change the world from within it, spreading God's vision to all. This is a community that is doing a multitude of things in a multitude of ways. And here in this week's text, we can see why they might use the image of salt and light as their founding principle. Salt is not a single-faceted object, but incredibly multivalent, and the image of light brings many connotations with it as well. To delve deeply into the images, however, let's start with salt. This week, I've asked a lot of people about salt to tell me about its role in their lives and how we use it. And I've got some of those here, but we also get to celebrate that this is the week where in the UCC we are here to worship and celebrate science and technology in our lives. So rather than just talking about the ways that we use salt, I thought we might do a little experimentation today. A couple I've done already, a couple fail on me, so we're going to hear about that too. But we're going to try out some things, how to be salt and how to be light. So what is salt? Well, salt's a crystal, right? So this is what you couldn't see that the kids got to see. This week, I created salt crystals from a saltwater solution. And if you get really, really close, you can get to see that a lot of these are actually perfect squares, which is kind of an entertaining bit about salt. And one of the ways that we are crystallized into our world is to be salt. But salt doesn't just crystallize, it does a lot of other things as well. It's an ancient preservative. So here, in this little bottle, is lemons and lemon juice and salt. It didn't start out as lemons and lemon juice and salt, it started out as lemons and salt. But the preservative action of the salt is drawing out that liquid so that it preserves them. Now, if we did this for long enough and put them into new salt each time, we would end up with some dried lemons. I'm sure many of you have had dried fish. I didn't think I'd try that this week up here. I thought I might stick with the lemons. A little bit safer for me in my non-fish cooking life. Salt is also a flavoring, right? It's the flavoring that we use in our food. Without it, things are bland. And much like the dough the kids got to play with, it can be very strong. And it also gives, without it, it's really bland. As Rudy said, if it's just flour and water, it's boring. But there's more to it than that. Salt outside, there's a lot of it out there on the streets right now. Why? Ice. So what does it do? It melts the water. Well, it melts the water in the ice to create puddles, and then we have to deal with the puddles. But it also gives us traction. It allows us to have an easier walking space. And it does this because of the ways that it freezes with the water. So the next experiment, which I did test in between services, but I have a feeling that the sitting here of the ice is going to fail on me. But how many of you have done this before, tried to pick up an ice cube with a string? Well, if you try to do it without the salt, it does nothing. If you try to do it with the salt, it also still does nothing sometimes. But if we get the right piece, we might be able to pick it up. Because what that salt's doing is melting that little bit of water on top of that ice cube and then refreezing because it's still cold. And so from that, from all of this, we're supposed to be salt for the world in all of these ways and in so many more. We have over here also from John and June, who volunteered to bring it this morning, our salt lamp, which is doing much for the negative ions in our space of calming us down, bringing us together. Oh, it worked! Be impressed, friends. So as salt crystallizes us, as it brings us together, as it flavors our lives, as it lights up our life, salt has the ability to create light itself. And while my experiment was fixed by Kirby's explanation during services, I don't have it with me, the last one is creating a salt water solution to create a light bulb. So if you do this right, which I didn't use the distilled water the first time, so it didn't work on me, you start out with distilled water, you put some electrodes in, and there's nothing that happens, but you add that salt into the solution and you become light creators. Salt creates light. So if salt has all of these properties, if we are supposed to be salt, we have a big challenge ahead of us. To let the salt of the divine share with you the flavoring and creativity of the Holy Spirit, to call you to be a preserver of creation, to melt cold hearts with radical love, to create traction and be assistance to those walking the way in rough and slippery times, to crystallize us into a community that seeks to change the world one grain at a time. That is what we're supposed to do as salt for the world. And then there's the light. We're called to embody it in both Matthew and Isaiah, and there is much that can be said about light. It's used as a metaphor for hiding our faith, a statement of what will shine forth if we don't hide, but we engage in the healing of the world. In Matthew, we're told to be a city on the hill and not to hide ourselves under baskets, but to engage deeper and more fully in the world so that we can see the greatness that God is doing through us. And in Isaiah, light is the reward for doing good works of justice. This message is certainly one that I feel called to remember in our modern world. There's so much in this text that speaks to us today. If you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness and your gloom be like the noonday. These words speak right into our culture of either or division that we see all around us and tell us something about the role of light in divine life. Light is doing work and making a difference. Darkness, putting our heads into the sand and ignoring the world, or rather hiding it under a bushel basket. Making our voices heard and letting our good works be seen. That's what the light calls us to do, to be better, to engage in the world. Light is an illuminator. In illumination, God comes to us as new ideas, that light bulb over our heads in the cartoons. The spirit of creativity that gives life salty flavor lights up our minds with innovation if we're able to listen. Light's also a revealer of truth. When we speak to truth, we often say it was brought into the hard light of day. Light can give us the space to scrutinize the world as we see it and propose another way, to shed light on reality. When we can bring it out into the light, we can look clearly at it and look at all sides of the issue. As we look at the world today, do we see the kind of fast or worship that would pay homage to a God of so much love, presence, and compassion as ours? We have a commandment in our faith tradition to serve the world, to share our bread with the hungry, and bring the homeless poor into your house when you see the naked to cover them. Then our light shall break forth like the dawn, and our healing shall spring up quickly. Light and darkness are the primary vision of comparison in our tradition. They show us the opposing forces of nature, but they also simplify the image down when there is so much more of a range, so much more gray area between light and dark. I know this to be true, and I bet you do too, as you sit there and think about how easy it sounds in this text. Their light will just automatically shine forth. Many times, if not most of the time, we do good works without recognition, and no one seems to see our good works. We might not intentionally be hiding our light, but nonetheless, it is invisible. And in those times, it's up to us to make the light shine a little brighter, to use all that we are to share the good news we see in others and brighten their lights too. This morning, we gather to celebrate all the ways that we are salt to the world and light in the darkness. We are a community at work in a troubled world, seeking to hear a word of compassion, of hope, of unity. We are a diverse group of people ready to see where the light shines in our lives, who strive to share the radical message of divine love for all. And together we can do all of these things, because when we are challenged, we stand together, we crystallize. Out of that diffuse salt solution, we become crystallized as salt. When we are desperate, we find others to cling to when we turn on our little flashlights. When we are celebrating, we find companions to share that overwhelming joy that is bright sunshine. And through it all, we are the salty, bright goodness of God right here on earth. May we remember to do and be all those things today. Amen.
And amen. We give thanks this day. Come here a second. So we do have a rich, wonderful tradition here, especially on Super Bowl Sunday, when we have such a super pastor and preacher that we need to really recognize in a very special way, as they do in football games. The coach always gets a comes our way, God is there with us to call us, to move us, to inspire us. So I invite you, if you're able to, please stand, because this prayer of self-dedication that we do every week, I don't want it to become routine. I want it to be passion, because this is what God has created us to do and to be, because this is our church.
We make it what it is.
Others will feel welcomed.
If I am welcoming,
It will do a great work.
if I work,
It will make generous gifts to many causes.
if I am a generous giver of my time, talents, and treasures,
It will be a sanctuary for social justice and for peace.
if I advocate for marginalized communities and practice peace in every setting of my life,
It will be a church that embraces all, that builds community, that grows faith and transforms lives.
if I, who make it what it is, practice these things,
So therefore, with the grace of God, we shall be a safe and inclusive church living God's radical message.
and I shall dedicate myself to being all the things I want my church to be. Amen.
Before Liz